You would just walk into any OR you wanted
Yep.
and just talk it up with the surgeon. The surgeon made all the decisions for products.
Yep.
It's like, wow, I just forgot.
Well, believe it or not, we could scrub in. So we would be sitting there scrubbing in with the doc. So you're there, you're in the cases in the sterile field. The only limitation was that you could touch the body or you could touch your instruments, but you couldn't touch the body, you couldn't touch the instrument if it was in the body. And it was pretty heady. I just thought that's the way it was because that was my first surgical job. And so
Wow.
it was crazy back then. So yeah, it was parking in. Matter of fact, I used to have my reps rent cars to go to work because they all drove Porsches and all this stuff. Because back then you made money, right? And so said you guys could not be parking in the surgeon's parking lot, physician's parking lot with your Porsche. So I used to rent Tauruses and go to work each day.
I remember I met a distributor in New York and he picked me up at the hotel in this giant BMW. And
Yeah,
man, this is a nice car. And he said, yes, and my customers will never ever see this car.
that's right. That's right. Drive the old jalopy.
Yeah, exactly. And he said, I drive a Bronco to the hospital every day.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, one of the docs in Birmingham, the old South Highlands Hospital, where Andrews built his empire, was a guy named Lemack. And he asked me to scrub it on his first arthroscopy. And so he looked at it through the scope, and we pulled it out. He said, you know what? I just made $1,800 looking through this thing. I think I'm onto something.
I'm gonna look at everything.
From then on, he looked at everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
He still opened them up, but for a while anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they do that today. When you do a lot of knee procedures, you stick a scope in first
Mhm.
just to check things out.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, and that's another bill.
Yeah,
Yep.
my standard
Back to your
ankles.
idea about scrubbing in, I'm thinking, wow, the sterile field was quite different back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, people were paying attention to it.
Well, it's funny because I don't remember it being different. I just remember being able to access it, you know? Um, it seemed because the training that we had back then seems pretty much like you do, you are the way you act in the OR right now, you know?
Well,
Yeah,
let's face it, US Surgical had probably some of the best training ever.
Yep.
yeah.
They did.
The best
They
training.
did.
Yeah,
Not a lot of people, they'd have 100 people come to training and about 30 would pass. So a lot of people have been to training but never worked for US Surgical.
That's right. Yeah.
hey, Colleen.
Hello there. Thanks for having me here today, Tiger. It took me a minute to figure this whole panelist business out, but
Yeah,
thank you for
sorry about
having
that.
me.
Colleen is our newest BoneChat member. Why don't you introduce
Colleen.
yourself?
How are you? How are you? So Colleen Ferrari, I'm a fractional COO. I work with a lot of fractional folks through Peak Fractional. But in 2012, I started a consulting firm and fell in love with the medical space, clinics, medical device. And then the last few years have been working for Vadim at GLW and previously Novastep. And so here I am going out on my own in the fractional COO world. So really enjoying it.
Great to have you.
Yeah,
So,
thanks.
yeah, foot and ankle is hot right now after that acquisition. Yeah, that's thought we'd talk about that today. The sort of the ramifications of the Paragon 28 acquisition. It really changed the industry. I think a lot of the smaller, well, Trees is a target now, and they're going to have to develop more products quickly. But the little guys, I think I see a trend where the little guys are going to start partnering up. What does everybody think about that? Because it's hard
I
to.
got an invitation to the consortium on Wednesday at the Academy. I think it's called the Orthopedic Innovation Consortium. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Who's
it's a bunch of
that?
startups.
Oh, wait, there was a guy on here telling us about it a few weeks ago.
Yeah. I'll try to find it in just a minute on the email. And it's just a bunch of startups. And one of them is Arcura Medical out of
That was
Israel,
the weekend before that.
Abanza out of Spain,
Well, you said
Easy
you're
Rep,
leaving like at 12, right?
I'm
Easy
gonna,
Rep
gonna
out of
give you
Pittsburgh,
comments.
and Tiber, but not not TY, but TBYR, I think.
Hmm.
Anyway, several others, and they're all either pre-commercial or, just still in kindergarten.
Interesting.
And they've banded together as kind of the cool kids club to do like a happy hour. It's really a good idea because that's, if you're a doc and you're going to the academy, do you really want to go over and see your buddies at Smith and Nephew again? Or, you want to see new stuff, some shiny new object. So it's really pretty cool.
I like that idea. But yeah, I promise when we get to 100 members, we'll do an in-person BoneChat meetup. It's one of the big conferences at least. And if anybody needs a button, I made magnetic buttons you can wear at medical conferences so you can find each other.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So this is open discussion today. We can talk about anything. I know Patrick threw out a question about open payment submissions, and Colleen has had a couple ideas for him.
Yes.
I didn't
Yes.
understand the question.
Yeah, I sent him a few options. The one person that I knew that was really good at it is kind of AWOL right now, but I sent him a couple different solutions.
Good.
But if anybody else has anyone that they use for open payments, that would be great too.
Explain the question, Colleen, because I don't understand the whole.
Yeah, it's tracking is what I understand that he's looking for is it's part of the compliance program where you have to track all of the money spent towards doctors and log that into the government system. And that's the open payment strategy. So being able to do that, anybody who's done anything with regulatory, how convoluted and challenging the government's websites are. So it's really trying to navigate that and putting that in. So if you haven't done that though, and you are in medical device and you're working with surgeons, as you know, that information has to be reported annually, and that so we can see, exactly how much Dr. Tiger Buford has taken from us to, use our product.
So Colleen, actually, I started a company in 2016. We started not only doing OIG exclusion screening and other regulatory compliance actions.
Yeah.
We automated the open payments reporting. So we do this for over 1,000 medical practices, a few hospital systems. And if you, as a medical device company, send me a list of 100 doctors in a particular area that you're interested in, we'll send you a report back in an hour that tells you everything about their open payments, royalties, payments, whatever. So, we simply automated the software service. So it's really easy. Yeah, you can do them one at a time, but our software will allow you to do it. I think our limit is 250 doctors. And if you also subscribe to like Definitive Healthcare Acuity for all of that money, which is a lot, they also pack it in, but we just, we do it for pennies.
That's great. Did you reach out to Patrick?
Is that Patrick Jamnick that wants it?
Yeah, Patrick Jamnick.
Yeah.
He sent a message on Slack. You may not have seen it, Mark.
I must have missed it. Yeah.
He definitely needs your help, Mark.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit.
Yeah, I had no idea you did that. So it's great to meet you and great to be able to
meet
refer
you. Well, we're really good at ideas, but we're terrible at marketing.
Hey, Colleen, what was that? You said you had a recommendation for Patrick?
Well, now it's Mark, right?
Yeah.
So Mark is the new recommendation. Okay.
Yeah. So
now it's Mark.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. Because of the odds and ends things I've helped out here at our office, our general counsel is not the most savvy whenever it comes to these types of things, and he's typically in charge of handling the Sunshine Act, those types of regulations and submitting that payments around this time of year. And I've helped them with that year after year, but it would be nice to get that a little bit more structured.
Well, we can give you the information easily and cheaply. For like, if you send me a list of, all your clients, we'll like run it through for a couple $100.
Perfect.
And that gives your general counsel all he needs. And what we do for medical practice is the OIG of Health and Human Services requires any healthcare entity to check all of their employees, contractors, vendors, and doctors, anybody that they pay. It requires that you check all of those people against all of the list of excluded individuals. Those are all people that have been convicted of Medicare fraud.
Wow.
And not only are there several federal agencies that publish the list, like the SAM, the GSA, the OIG of Health and Human Services, a couple of others, list of Medicare opt-out, but every state has a list. So, and you're supposed to do it monthly, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So if you're like a big lawyered up practice, you do it or you outsource it. But if you're just like a regular rural hospital, or a small medium-sized medical practice, and you're just trying to make payroll, go home and see the kids, you don't worry about it too much until you do. And so what we do is we sell a service that I think we charge them $10 per year per person. So if they have 100 people, or whatever, it's $1,000 or whatever it is. So we do it really cheaply. And if you try to do it on your own, it's absurd. It's a full-time job.
It's not, Joe. I mean, if I could just throw something out there, it's not something you want somebody who's not incredibly tight and organized with. It's one of those, I mean, I've gone into companies after the fact and had to, taken a solid of my time just doing cleanup. And so it's not even just what your company spends, but your sales reps spend on your behalf. Like all of that needs to be tracked diligently. So not anything that you want to ever mess around with. Mark, I'm sure you'll weigh in more, but I'd never put that in the hands of somebody who is just willy-nilly and is doing it on the side, because it's important.
Yeah. And I don't want to come across like we're giving it in the hands of a child, but we're small. We're able to handle those types of things with the size and the amount of payments that are being output. But we know that that's going to grow, like with a medical device or our medical board here to help kind of consult on things. As that grows, you want to track those payments much closer.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
100%.
Joe runs a small total knee company that is doing things disruptively.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it, I wouldn't say that I run it, but I definitely take a big part in it for sure. But yeah, small knee and hip replacements, primaries, focusing on the knee system right now.
So did everybody see Globus bought Nevro? It's their neural stimulation company. They have those little pacemakers that you implant under the skin. I guess that was a big hole in Globus's product line. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done that. $250 million for a little implantable pacemaker company. And I can send everybody. I can put that in the link.
So isn't there a lot of competition for that? I mean, I would think there are established players already.
I think it must have been a hole because, yeah, you're right. All the big companies have them.
Huh.
It's a really good question. Anyway,
Where are they based?
Globus, Pennsylvania, but
Never. I was thinking.
They've got offices in, San Diego. I don't know, 4 or 5 locations now. They keep it quiet.
Nevro's in Redwood City, California. Okay. Yeah. So they've got a SI joint pain option as well. Yeah. Interesting.
I guess those things work. I guess there's enough data that show they work. I don't, Eric, do you know if those things work? No? These
I
are,
have not really covered that area very much, but yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of data backing it now. So, you know, I just think as far as insurance reimbursement, you know, I don't know where they stand, right? That's always going to be kind of the bottom line issue as far as getting it to scale. Yeah.
you gotta, and there's a code, there's existing codes, which is nice. It's kind of like Exogen, but this is implanted. Everybody knows what Exogen is for post-traumatic non-fusions. It's basically electrical stimulation that you wear a thing that creates electricity and makes the bone grow a little better. Exogen actually works. They've got lots of clinical data. It has a better chance of turning a non-union into a union.
That's pretty cool stuff. I was director of sales at Orthologic way back when.
That's right. That's right. You know a lot of
There's a
this.
lot of bone growth stimulators. So I found that consortium. You want to see it real quick?
Yeah, sure.
There it is.
Cool.
Showcasing everything in one little place at the San Diego Wine and Culinary Center.
Well, that's right by me. I'll see you all there.
Really?
Yeah, I'm in San Diego.
Cool. Cool.
Let's see if I can find another one here.
That's something that you need to.
There it is. They got a
there
big
you go.
barrel.
Perfect.
So these are the companies. I thought you want to see that.
Heatreon. Wow.
Huh.
I know
Lipogen.
Tetris. I know Tetris. I know Pristine. I know Albanza. Interesting.
Lipogems, that is.
I've heard of Lipogen.
So they're originally out of Italy. And they're an adipose derived
fat tissue.
progenitor cell play.
Their website says discover the power of fat.
Yeah, you can't fat shame these guys. They're good. So let's see who else.
Awesome.
I don't know Innovatus. Anyway, there it is. Now you know.
Another Academy thing. So the CEO of OREF reached out to me, Lee Grossman. Have you ever interviewed Lee Grossman, Elizabeth?
The name's familiar. I might have gotten a quote from him at some point. Not
sure. I'm sure you bumped into him. Anyway, he reached out to me and just wanted to talk about BoneChat and everything. And I started asking, I've known the OREF for 40 years. They just fund research, mostly in hospitals. And he started telling me all the things they do now. They have a venture studio.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I said, why don't you come on BoneChat and tell us about your venture studio? They said, yeah, we help startups succeed. And they obviously have tons of clinical experience. And I think they're trying to put clinicians together with startups and help them. Anyway, he's going to come on in 2 weeks.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Lee Grossman at OREF.
That's fantastic.
I like these open discussions better than presenters, don't you guys? The presenters.
I was at the manufacturers conference in Anaheim yesterday, and I heard about the coolest technology ever. It's there's a company out there, and they are making a screw that goes through the brain, they figured out how to get it past the blood-brain barrier, and will drip chemo in to cure cancer. Unbelievable. It's like something I read about a couple of years ago, that they couldn't figure out how to open that blood-brain barrier, and to just be able to create something like it's just unbelievable to slow drip.
What's the name of that technology or the company?
You know what? I actually was talking to the manufacturer who's making it, so I don't know. But I was like, I was out there just kind of looking. It was all robotics. I mean, the whole show, robotics was probably the biggest thing. AI is really prevalent. There's a lot of conversation about AI. But really, that was probably the coolest thing that I heard. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
Wow, is it on the market or are they doing clinicals?
No, no, they're doing trials for it right now. I was actually talking to the manufacturer that is doing, beginning to end manufacturing of that. And he couldn't share what company it was, but I thought, wow, this is pretty impressive technology on the
Cool
forefront.
stuff. Wow, that's interesting. Hey, Mark, right before I got on, I talked, Sarah Vancini and I had a really good long talk. You'll find this fascinating. Sarah was here 3 weeks ago talking about how to tell stories to raise money. Her company's called Stories with Substance. Anyway, she's creating an AI marketing tool for medical device companies. So it's the coolest thing. You literally it's a service you buy, and you just click boxes. You say, okay, I want to do an email campaign or a blog, and you just start filling out what you want it to do, and then it generates it for you and sends you an email within like 30 seconds. It's really cool. It's not ready. It
Okay,
hasn't
the writer online. I'm going to say boo. You're going to put me out of business.
I tell you, I think we all have to learn to use these tools or we can't keep up,
Yeah.
I just finished this program at MIT about AI and integration into business strategy. And they said your AI isn't going to, and professor after professor for the last like 6 months has pretty much drilled this into our heads, but AI will not replace humans. AI will replace humans who don't use AI.
Ooh, that's
And
well.
just kind of on that front, Tiger, one of the things that we were digging in that's out there is even bringing that sales piece to the next level. So if you put in your company and you say, hey, this is what I sell, these are the doctors the surgeons that use it, you put that all together and the system says, well, listen, your typical doctor is part of this fellowship, it tracks this, they like to make changes with this is what they're posting and their LinkedIn, this is what they're interested in. And then it goes out there and searches for all surgeons with all of that relevant things in common with who your core market is. And then brings it down to the salesperson, where now the salesperson gets a list and they say, hey, I'm going to be in Kansas City this week. So all of a sudden AI will drill down the list of surgeons in AI that have the best, like the top 10% chance of using your product based on what they post on social media, what's out there historically, what is public information, who they, like Salesforce right now can tell you who you donate to and what your political affiliation is, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. So you kind of take that, and then your salesman goes and meets with maybe 5 doctors that now, instead of having a 3% chance of converting or 5% chance of converting, now has a 90% chance of converting. And AI has also said, hey, here are topics that are really interesting to this particular surgeon. And you might want to mention that you're involved with this person from this fellowship and this person. I mean, it's unbelievable where it's going.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. We just talked about this a few weeks ago. Mauricio said, don't weaponize the outbound AI, but it sounds like it could, it's getting so good that people can't even tell the difference. There was a huge election in India, and everybody knows the candidates' voices, and they use AI. They had AI candidates calling everybody in the country simultaneously and talking to them at the same time.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, these political guys love it right now because they can go. I think it was South Korea's president. He was elected this way, and even the person that was running against him, they put it on there. They love it. If you're a campaign manager, just a little bit of time, you can make that mock version of you. But instead of like somebody going off script, like I'm sure Donald Trump's campaign manager would have loved, right? You just type in what that person is going to say, what the speech is, and this complete replica of who you are looks real. You can't tell the difference, delivers that speech or that message without flailing, without going off script. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you've ever seen, I don't know if you guys watch this, but Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn.
Yep, I know Reid.
Did you see? Yeah, did you see the interview that he did with his
Yeah,
AI?
he's
twin?
talking to himself. It's incredible.
It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. He said it was the toughest interview, right? Because he had all of his best interview questions.
So, Colleen, let me show you something real quick. I'm doing this next Tuesday.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This is using AI in your medical practice.
Oh, I saw that. I put it on my calendar, Mark. I didn't
Yeah, I
realize
hope you
you'd be
can. I
doing
hope you
it.
can
Great.
come.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've been since December. On the 17th, I'm rolling out a product called Prevensis through VenOps, which is the ability to create an AI persona for your medical practice, your hospital, your medical device company, or anything inbound, outbound. I've been playing with it, trying to learn how to be a navigator because, like you said, AI is not going to replace you, but AI is going to replace those who don't use AI.
Yeah.
And one of my sons is a software developer. He did the mobile app for the NBA and PGA and so forth. And he's trying to look for a lot of that is going away because of the AI. A lot of the software coding people. And I told him, I said, you need to learn how to be a master AI pilot. Because everybody will use AI, but AI will either be like a little car in your driveway or it'll be a jumbo jet. Learn how to fly the jumbo jet.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a dinner next week, and I created an AI agent named Zoe, after Franny and Zoe by J.D. Salinger, by the way.
Oh, nice.
And if you call, and so I send you an email, and I say, call this number for more details. And so then you call that number, and Zoe answers. She'll say, thanks for calling. I appreciate you, considering the dinner. We're hosting 4 companies with 4 products. She can tell you anything about them. And at the end of it, she'll say, well, thanks again. If you want to RSVP, text Mark Maloney at this number and blah, blah, blah. Just like talking to a human.
Brilliant. So, Mark, you've got that. You've created that, you and your son?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's going to change customer service for medical device, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
So I'm creating the actual company to market it to healthcare, but this came about. I helped a couple of PhDs a couple of years ago, kind of pro bono, and they were in Vancouver, Canada. One of them has a husband with a marketing company, international marketing company, and they created the actual AI program. And then they came to me and they said, do you want to bring this to U.S. healthcare? I said, hell yeah. That looks like a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm looking forward to your.
I'm gonna do the press release, and probably the website might go live even as early as this week. We'll see.
Brilliant.
It's called Prevensis. Let me spell it out because it's a made up word out of a couple of old Latin cognates from a guy who spent too much time in parochial school.
Funny.
Here we go.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to all get on board with this stuff. I'm an advisory board member for a company, and we're trying to acquire another company. And we have a acquisition contract, and the board's going, should we add this clause? Or should we add that clause? And I just uploaded it to AI and said, tell me where the holes are in this clause, and it came out with 14 things instantly. And I sent it to the board, and I said, I just threw it in AI. I think these one, and they said, well, that's brilliant. But I mean, I'm not the smartest one around, but why didn't everybody on the board use that to review a contract?
No kidding, Tiger. I was working with a company Monday, I think it was. And I'm like, I don't really understand why I'm still seeing communication like this. Like, I'm going through and I'm like, well, what is going on? So I was working in this one department and there was these 2 really educated people, and they weren't really like, you would think that I'm describing somebody who's 70 years old or something. I said, why would you send something out like this? Why, wouldn't it be easier? You took all this time. Wouldn't it be easier to just throw this into AI and have it generate it for you and then just spot check it? They're like, we can't, both of them said the same thing. We can't do that. I'm like, well, why can't you put it into AI? And there was this real fear of crossing over. They thought they were cheating. It wasn't their real word. Everybody would know that all company secrets would be like shared with the universe. I mean, it was really kind of interesting naivete associated with it, even in a younger generation. But you're right. I mean, why isn't everybody using it? It saves so much time.
How many AIs do you use, Tiger?
I use 3 right now. I use Grok for my number 1. I think it's the best. It's going to be the best in a few months because Musk is building he's building a monster data center in Memphis. It's the largest one in the world. And within a couple of years, it's going to require more electricity than the entire city of Memphis. It's so big. And then I use Gemini, which is Google's. And the neat thing about Gemini is you have access to the Google ecosystem, everything that Google knows. And then I use OpenAI. OpenAI. I used to pay for the upgrade. What's it called?
4.0.
Yeah, 1.0. But I cut that. They charge too much. Yeah, these general things are going to be free forever. But what we're talking about is, and everybody's going to have private AIs that they use for customer service, or finance for your business, or anything data related. Everybody, and I heard a prediction the other day, it makes total sense. There's going to be more agent AIs than there are people on the earth pretty soon. Because it's like cell phones, everybody's going to have 4 or 5. I think that's where it's going. And we're all trying to figure out what little private AI we can create to make our business or life better. And that's the challenge, I think. It's hard. It's really hard.
I feel the way you were talking about those other people you're talking to. That's how I feel. I feel like I'm so far behind. Don't know what I'm doing, and like I do need the help. So how is it that I would start to get up to speed and learning what it is that I can do?
You just have to play with it. Just there's no wrong answer. It's just like when we got our first computer in the 1980s and we just started playing around with it. You can't break anything.
Well, yeah, but like when I made that deal with the Vancouver guy in December, I spent the next really 2 months now, part-time, but spending a lot of time playing with it. Like you said, how many people really can do that? I mean, I got my own business. I don't work for anybody.
Right.
I can focus the time and do that. If I were a physician, busy surgeon with handlers and a time schedule, there's no way I could do it. I would need a navigator or a pilot or a consultant, somebody like, what Eric's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But here, do this. Go to OpenAI and just put your earpods in, and you can talk to it. You can. It has a microphone.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And you can just walk around the house and say, "Tell me about the history of Rome," and then you tell me more about that, and it'll open your eyes. You can go down any pathway, and it'll have it's like talking to an expert in any field, and you can go as deep as you want, and it records it. It's records the text of your conversation.
Yeah.
But you have to play with it.
Pretty
Here,
cool.
I'll show you. I'll show you my clone. This will be. Anybody have a good question for my clone?
Yeah. What's the most important medical technology invented in the last 25 years?
Oh man,
That's critical.
that is really good. Let's see if I can find it here.
The reason I asked that question is because before I made that last post on LinkedIn, I asked ChatGPT, what it was. And the first one that came up was, believe it or not, digital imaging. And it reminded me that in 2001, I gave a talk to the sales force at Miami Beach, Fontainebleau for Kodak Medical, the guys that sold X-ray film and all that. And I told them at this meeting, I said, digital will change everything. And they didn't believe me, and they booed and they laughed and everything. But by 2007, that division was shut down.
Yep, it's adapt or die. Okay, I'm going to try this. What the question is, the most important medical device in the last 20 years, you said?
Yeah, what, 25 years? Yeah.
Okay, here we go. See if this will work. What is the most important medical device in the
Hi,
last
I'm Tiger
25
Buford.
years?
What is your question?
Whoops. What is the most important medical device created in the last 25 years?
All right, let's cut through the noise. If we're talking about the most important medical device in the last 25 years, I'd argue it's the advent of smart implants. These things are game changers. Take Canary Medical, for example. They've pioneered orthopedic implants that actually talk. These devices monitor patient health in real time, predicting problems before anyone even knows they exist. That's not just innovation, that's a revolution in patient care. It's like having a built-in mechanic for your body. Nothing else comes close to that level of impact in orthopedics or even healthcare as a whole.
That's funny. So
What is the most profitable medical device invented in the last 25 years?
Not so fast. Just because something's groundbreaking doesn't mean it's raking in cash yet. Smart implants, like the ones from Canary Medical, are still in their early stages of adoption. The profitability isn't fully realized because the healthcare system moves slower than molasses when it comes to adopting new tech. Hospitals, surgeons, and payers are cautious, and for good reason. They need proof these devices improve outcomes and save money long term. But here's the kicker. The real profit potential isn't just in selling the implants, it's in the data. These implants generate a goldmine of patient health data, and that's where the future dollars are. Companies that figure out how to monetize that data, whether through predictive analytics, partnerships with insurers, or even licensing it, are going to clean up. So yeah, it's not the most profitable yet, but it's got the potential to flip the entire business model of orthopedics on its head. That's where the real money's hiding.
Okay, let's stop. That's enough of that. So the
Tiger,
reason
Tiger, that's fascinating. So it has some of your colloquialisms that you use in there. Did you build that in, or did you read the script?
I don't know. That's because it's trained on all of my podcasts I've done, all the YouTube information,
Oh, brilliant.
all my blogs I've written. So that's why I went to Canary Medical, because I've interviewed Canary Medical about 3 times.
It was you. It was you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it only knows, it's like a little private clone. It only knows stuff I've written or talked about. So that's why it's a very narrow.
Tiger bias. There's a lot of tiger bias in that.
Yeah. And obviously, smart implants are not the most important thing in the last 25 years. But anyway, it's just an example. And in a year or two, it'll be real. It'll be like talking to a real person, and you won't even be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, a word to the wise. I don't know if you saw the deep seat, that information this morning, that it's I actually had this happen to me in November when I was out in Vietnam. It gave you a what's the word in the communist country? I'm losing it, but it didn't give you the truth. It gave you
the Communist Party line,
yeah, propaganda. Sorry. But look at some of these IA tools that you use and ask it the question, how current is its data? So, because some of them are like, the one by, it might even be Gemini, maybe. That one's like 2 years old, the data whereas ChatGPT will be really current. So with what we're doing, it's all innovation. You want to make sure that you're using a model that is current and reading stuff today.
Yeah, good point. Kyle's got a comment or question.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sure we all feel like we got a long way to go here. I've been playing around with various AI things to try and understand how to use it, but to try and also save myself some time. And what I've found so far is that I think we experienced it some with what Tiger was just showing. If you're asking for something that is subjective, that's going to be at the risk of some sort of bias built into the thing. But if what you're looking for is something to actually take away work from you, that the better you coach it, the better the output is. So Eric, to give you a couple examples of how I've worked with it so far is I wanted to see if I could create the skeleton of a fresh quality management system. And so what I did is I went in and I said, you're going to help me write a quality management system, and we're going to do it from the ground up. We're going to reference ISO 13485 and 21 CFR Part 820. I want to start with a template for a quality manual. So using those references, write me a generic quality manual for company named A. And it took 30 seconds. And here was this very rough template with references and sections and headings and everything. And then you have an option at the bottom to simply say copy, and you can throw that into a Word document. Now, I've tried to, so I was able to do that for, I don't know, I did it for a risk analysis, I did it for an IOVV chart, and it was like output after output. What I haven't found a good mechanism for it to do yet is for me to add in there, create a Word document out of this, and then have it spit that out. Create a slide deck. I tried that where I said, create a pitch deck for me doing this. And it gave me the guts of it and wrote like a summary, like the bullet points, but it couldn't give me an output of slides. And I maybe just haven't used the right AI for that. But ultimately, when it comes to doing something where you probably could do it on your own, but you'd need to poke around the internet for an hour, odds are you can prompt and coach AI to give you exactly that same output in 5 minutes.
True.
That's the basic level that I've been playing around with.
I think a lot of my issues is I don't know what to use it for. I don't even think, oh shoot, I could have it help me write this quality manual. The reason I was asking about it is I've picked up this expert witness gig, and I'm having to write some reports for that. And I don't know if this maybe age is kicking in, but I keep on running up into some writer's block, and I'll go to Chat GPT and I'll type some sort of question that will help me out get out of that. And it's worked fair. I found a lot of things that were in error. Maybe it's because questions are so specific, but that's as far as I dipped my toe in so far.
Eric, for your expert witness, do they provide you with documents about the case?
Yes.
Yeah, you can just drop those in. You can say, read the entire, prosecution thing and tell me what an expert witness should say.
Is that allowed?
It's just a tool. You can do anything
Yeah.
you want.
It's allowed, but keep in mind it can be wrong.
It can be wrong. You have to
keep in mind.
It'll get you 90% there.
Yeah, I've used it more as prompts, like when I can't think of the word that I want. I'm like, oh shoot, what the heck? So I go back and type some stuff and get some words. And then I've had to fix everything that it's given me, but at least it got me, through that writer's block. But like you're saying, Tiger, the documents I have, they're all PDFs too. Is it able to read PDFs?
Yeah, it reads PDFs all day long. And a Grok does.
I wouldn't have even known that. Yeah.
You just drag it over to drop it and you put it in the text box. And it'll read 100,000 pages in seconds.
The other thing is take the bad data, like it gives you one version and say, no, I don't like it. I want it to be funnier. I want you to write this like a Madison Avenue advertising executive or a top 100 consulting firm and fix this piece of it. And it'll keep spitting it out. I learned that from my daughter. That's how she does her homework in college. I'm paying all this money for Chat to do her papers. But it's pretty amazing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll give it some more effort. I'm running up into a hard deadline, and it's scaring me. So I can use the help.
Cool. So do you show up in trial, or do you just produce a document, an opinion?
I guess it depends on how good my document is.
All right.
I don't think there's much of a case here, but that's what I have to try to get across.
Are you a PE as an engineer? Because a lot of times a lot of times the expert witnesses, they want a P after your name.
Sure. Opposing counsel has one that's a PE, and it's not working because the person is so specialized. And you think about our field, it's, you know, it's not just metallurgy or something like that. You know, we cover so much when it has to do with, let's say a device that fails. There's so much, you know, you have to have broad education to have good you know, explanations to things and whatnot. So yeah, I never got my PE, and I'm really glad I haven't, but
I think it's very limiting. I see a lot of engineers that go for the PE. Yeah. Don't tell us anything you shouldn't tell us, but is it a failed implant case? And the patient suing the manufacturer and the hospital and everything?
so it's a implant that the patient says has failed. There's nothing out there that points to his implant failed.
Wow.
But suing everybody they can, and it's interesting. The case has been around for several years, and I really don't understand how this thing can drag on so long. So yeah, I'm trying to make it go away.
Boy, when I was there, I guess I can tell this now. It's been so long. When I was at Wright Medical, we had this really nice lady named Debbie. And every time a patient wanted to sue us, the call got funneled to Debbie. And, Debbie would get on the phone with the patient, they had a revision, they were in terrible pain or whatever. And Debbie would say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, make sure make sure you collect all your receipts and send them to us, and we'll send you a check, for and so the patient would get a parking, $10 for parking and all this. They'd send it into Wright Medical, and then Debbie would send them a check with a waiver on the bottom, and Debbie's was worth her weight in gold, and. And then a lot of times we had a rule where we would always settle for 200,000. If somebody had a legitimate case, here's $200,000 and make it go away. And that was our threshold. If they wouldn't take the 200, we would go to court.
Yeah. So I don't know if any of you guys remember, Medtronic had a counsel who did things like this as well, Steve Phillips, and whenever there was an issue, he said, we just have to call them first and pay for everything, and that's how we win. And that was true. I had a huge recall, and it was like 200 in some cases, and not one went to trial.
Wow!
Just because he called them first.
That would be a really interesting BoneChat for me. Would be the ethics around the revolving around the medical device world.
Yeah, it's a gray area for sure.
Gray area. I had a gray area last night. I told some friends of mine that I would buy them tickets to the movie Casablanca for Valentine's Day, and I forgot. So I got a text at 6 something. I'm cooking dinner, and thanks for the tickets. Where are we sitting? And I'm going, oh man, oh. So I got my laptop with my left hand, and I'm cooking dinner with my right, and I'm buying these tickets. Instead of the theater, I accidentally went to a reseller.
Ooh.
So instead of paying $100 for like $15 Casablanca tickets, I spent like almost $500 for this reseller. I got scammed. And I just, didn't see it coming, and I was in a hurry, and I had to take care of my buddies or my friends, my wife, and everybody. So it's really unethical. They haven't even bought the tickets yet. They take my money, and I talked to the theater later, and they said this is what they do. They trap people. And she said they're terrible with baby boomers and older people. I'm going, oh God, no, I'm not even. Don't put me there. But okay, I'm there. Okay. So anyway, I wouldn't tell you. I've been in digital healthcare since the 90s. I'm not that person, but I guess I am. So anyway, it's unethical, but it's technically legal.
Yeah, there's a lot of gray area. Oh, let me bring it back to fundraising. So,
Yeah.
I'm writing an article about this. There's predatory, there's financial predators out there that are preying on startups raising money right now. And what they do is, and this has been going on for years, but it's really gotten bad recently. If you want them to, if they want to read your pitch deck, they charge you $17,000. And they're a big firm, and these are real firms with real money. These are, and then they say, okay, that looks interesting. Let's go into due diligence. You need to wire $90,000 for us to start the due diligence. And then after a few weeks, we're not really interested. And that's been going on a lot. I'm going to write an article about that. If people want money up front, they just run the other direction.
Wow.
I would think that entrepreneurs would know that.
The company I know about, they went through their board, they went through all their advisors, and they still did it. Because it's a legit company. I mean, they've got billions of dollars. It's not like, it's not a fake company.
It's not a scam, it's a gimmick.
There you go. That's well said, Kyle.
Tiger, I'm sure you've heard the scam going on in your industry, right? With if they're taking posted resumes offline and presenting them to companies as their own clients. Just awful.
Yeah, never put your resume up on LinkedIn. People do that. Never do that.
You remember Adam Hochek with Echo?
Yeah.
I've been talking to him because that voice analysis that they do in a minute is fascinating. And I think it has relative value to mental health or to remote patient care to detect, depression and everything. So actually I built him an AI agent for him to use. So anyway, I should do that on one of these bone chats. Somebody, give me a topic or something, and I'll show you how fast you can build these.
And then you could just walk us through it, how to do it.
Let's do that.
Yeah, and I can walk you through it. Yeah.
Let's do that.
You could be, and I'll send you a letter of certification. You'll be certified.
Certifiable.
Certifiable. We know that, right? That's funny.
That's great. Speaking of, there's lots of BoneChat marriages that are happening where companies are working together. It's amazing to me. And I just spawned one. You guys remember the V-Surgic? Remember Lawrence Binder, V-Surgic? Lawrence, brilliant guy. He co-founded Globus back in the day. Well, he's got a company that they have cameras in the operating room, and anybody can dial in. Anybody with access can dial in around the world and watch the surgery and chat with the team. Really
I watch them.
Yeah, I watch them sometimes. So you got that. They're creating tons of surgical content, but just video. And then there's another BoneChat member he's now the president or CEO of Clinical AI. And what Clinical AI does is it'll watch any video and it'll tell you what's going on. It'll literally annotate it. It'll say, okay, the surgeon's putting a suture into that tendon. Okay, they just put a knot in. And it creates basically surgical notes. Anyway, those guys are talking now because V-Surgic's got tons of content, but they don't have annotation. And then Clinical AI's got annotation. They don't have any content.
Nice.
So, yeah, I just got a note today that things are going really well. They just had their first meeting.
So I remember Mark talking about that or something very similar. Is that something that's going to be covered in your symposium here coming up?
What specifically? Because it's the title is using AI in your medical practice, and my goal there is to reduce the sort of informational fear of AI and make some suggestions of people that could actually practically use it in their medical practice without spending 6 weeks, like we were talking about, learning about AI.
The thing that struck me that I thought was really cool was the potential for the AI, watching your surgery and taking the notes for you. because that sounded brilliant. I was like, wow,
Yeah, you should.
take better notes than the surgeon would.
That's a really good point, Eric. Mark, you really need to get Lawrence Binder there from V-Surgic. He's got to attend. He will have a mind-blowing tool for hospitals.
One of the people that's going to be on it is Kishore Tipernini. And although he's an orthopedic surgeon in Phoenix, he's been writing code since high school. In fact, he wanted to, out of high school, to go to college to be a computer scientist, but his Indian father wouldn't let him because he wanted him to be a doctor. So Kishore enrolled in a 6-year MD, college program. He's a pretty smart guy, and he kept writing. And he was the guy that wrote the software for our digital imaging play in 1999 and our first EMR. Crazy smart. And his new side hustle is Tempeda, which basically automates and reduces the documentation time in your clinic by 50%. It's not ambient AI, which he thinks, is evil, because he doesn't want an AI just listening to him like we're talking about and writing it up. He wants to control it. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. He wants to be the pilot.
Yeah, the way to be the pilot is you have to control the data set. You don't let the AI go out to the internet. Yeah.
The reason I thought of it is I interviewing a couple of CROs, and I was like, man, you know what, with what we're doing as far as keeping all the records that we need to for our IDE studies, that AI could really come in and help a whole bunch.
I'd love to talk to you more about that. That sounds like an interesting a more interesting application than some.
Yeah, pretty practical.
Yeah. Okay. Mind if I line up a call?
Yeah, not a problem. The thing I was going to do first, though, was see if they wanted to attend your symposium.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And have them take a look at it.
Great.
So, and then we can all get back together, and they're the ones you want to talk to.
I mean, like Tiger says on BoneChat, on that panel, there's going to be a whole lot of people a lot smarter than me. So it'd be great.
Yep,
it's always best when you're not the smartest person in the room, which is 100% of the time. Well, we've kind of bumped into the hour. So next week we've got Rick Bolander from TrackPatch Health. He's kind of, you guys heard of TrackPatch? It's that wearable. It's a little wearable on the outside of the knee, and it basically talks to your cell phone and talks to the nurse and tells them how your physical therapy is going. And if you have an infection, it tells you if you're not doing enough PT.
Wow. Babysitter for PT.
A babysitter. Anyway, Rick's the new president. He's sort of found the perfect solution now. And it was originally going to be a huge data play. We were going to collect data around every hospital, every surgeon, every total knee ever put in. And now it's more of a labor saving. There's less follow-up visits now to the surgery center. And it's a labor saving tool is what it is. Anyway, that's next week. So Elizabeth, what's New Orleans like during the Super Bowl?
Oh, you're on mute.
Thanks. Yeah, a lot of celebrity sightings. I understand. I haven't seen anyone yet, but it's a traffic nightmare. And after January 1st, everyone's very paranoid about safety, so they've got the whole French Quarter blocked off. I actually got a press pass to attend an event. I don't know what the guy's name is. He was the inspiration for what was the movie about the sports? Jerry
Maguire.
Yeah.
Show me the money.
He throws a big pre-party every year. And so he's doing that, and there's a red carpet and all this business. So it should be pretty interesting. I'm going to try to find an ortho angle, who's the NFL had an injury last year, and can I talk to your doc and that kind of thing. So it should be quite fun.
Team doc. Yeah. Talk to the team docs.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, that'll be really interesting. So that's Saturday. I'm not going downtown. Sunday. And oh my gosh, the tickets are what? Now they're cut in half. They're $4,000.
Good Lord.
Crazy.
Watch it on my couch.
Exactly. All
All
right.
right.
everybody.
Thanks, guys. It's been fun. Yeah, we have
Thanks,
speakers the
everyone.
next 2 weeks. We'll go back to the old format. Have a great week.
Tiger, do you mind
Thanks,
staying up?
Tiger. Everybody. Bye-bye.
Everyone.